Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are zooming right in on your Grade 7 Modern World History journey to tackle a very specific, very exciting challenge. We're talking about the Middle Ages mini-project, which is Unit 1, Lesson 9. By the time we wrap up today, you'll know exactly how to compare medieval societies, track historical cause and effect, and honestly just absolutely ace every single requirement of this assignment. I'm thrilled to guide you through these skills, so let's get ready to build an incredible project together.
Okay, quick look at our agenda for today. 1. Mapping modern world history. 2. Unit 1, the Middle Ages. 3. Unit 2, a changing world. 4. Unit 3, modern times. And finally, 5. Connecting past to present. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Mapping Modern World History. The Domino Effect of History.
Now, as you can see on this timeline, your whole year is mapped out across 3 big eras. But for your mini-project, we're focusing entirely on that first block, the Middle Ages. The really cool thing, though, is that the historical thinking skills you're about to practice are the exact same ones you'll use all year long. To understand how one era flows into another, you have to master the domino effect of history. The cause and effect tracking, the evidence gathering, all of that analysis you apply to your medieval societies today will perfectly set you up for everything that follows.
Moving on to Section 2, Unit 1, the Middle Ages, laying the foundations. So for this mini-project, you're basically stepping into the shoes of a lead historical investigator. The big mystery you're trying to solve? How everyday medieval societies organized power, belief, trade, and just their daily lives. I mean, think about it. Before smartphones, the internet, and rapid global communication, how did folks in places like China or the Americas figure out who was in charge? How did they structure their economies? Your job is to gather rock-solid historical evidence to answer those huge, foundational questions about human existence. Let's actually look at a worked example for how you'll handle evidence-based comparison in your project. Because you can't just say, well, Japan and Europe both had knights. Nah, you need specific evidence. You might write something like, while Japanese samurai followed the Bushido code, which emphasized absolute loyalty to their daimyo, European knights followed chivalry, which heavily emphasized religious duties to the church. See what we did there? We took specific vocabulary and distinct facts to clearly highlight the unique cultural developments of 2 different civilizations. Another massive requirement for your mini-project is demonstrating cause and effect. Look, history is never just a random list of events. When you research your medieval society, you've got to identify a specific cause that led to an undeniable effect. For example, maybe a sudden increase in agricultural technology in medieval Europe caused a population boom, which in turn affected the growth of towns and the eventual decline of strict feudalism. You have to literally trace those dominoes falling and show how one development sparked a totally new reality.
All right, Section 3, Unit 2, A Changing World, the Spark of Transformation.
When you're analyzing how societies transform, another key rubric requirement is applying historical perspective. What does that mean? Basically, stepping out of your modern shoes and trying to understand the point of view of the people who actually lived through these eras. Why would a simple new idea totally upend an established world? To a medieval peasant, a new religious or scientific idea wasn't just interesting, it might be terrifying, liberating, or completely worldview shattering. Your project has to capture how different groups of people perceive those massive changes.
Now, a critical part of earning top marks on this project is correctly defining and deploying key vocabulary. Even though you're focusing on the Middle Ages, understanding huge concepts like industrialization later on, or using terms like feudalism and manorialism requires precise language. You can't just drop complex words into your paragraphs randomly to sound smart. Define them clearly within your writing and show exactly how those specific developments completely altered everyday life.
Because ultimately, your project is about tracing causes and effects to explain change. Think of your historical analysis as tracking a giant chain reaction. A specific political idea leads to a new way of organizing labor, which then leads to a shift in trade networks. Your job when writing up your findings is to make sure your reader can easily follow those dominoes as they fall. Connect your points logically so the resulting cultural shifts make perfect sense.
Okay, I need to warn you about a very common misconception that trips up a lot of students on this project. People tend to think that major historical shifts only have one single cause. Honestly, that is almost never true. Real history is messy and complicated. A massive shift isn't just caused by one single leader making one single decision. It's usually a wild combination of economic struggles, ideological shifts, and environmental factors all crashing together at once. Make sure your project acknowledges that complex reality.
Which brings us to Section 4, Unit 3, Modern Times, Conflict, and Connection.
Let's do a brief student check right here. I want you to mentally pause and apply the skills we just discussed to your chosen medieval society. How would you use historical evidence to explain their conflicts? Can you think of one specific cause that led to a major connection, like a new trade route, and one specific effect that resulted from it? Take just a second to mentally outline your answer using those exact historical thinking skills.
Applying that historical perspective successfully means digging into the deep, underlying ideologies of your time period. Whether you're looking at modern forces like imperialism or medieval concepts like divine right, you have to understand the core drivers of human identity. Why did people fight so fiercely for their land or their beliefs? When you can accurately describe that powerful, sometimes exclusionary pride, or the aggressive desire to expand, your historical narrative becomes incredibly compelling.
And by comparing different historical perspectives on these massive cultural shifts, you'll hit the absolute highest level of analysis required for your rubric. You won't just be listing the dates a battle happened. You'll analyze why those events happened from multiple viewpoints. How did the ruling class view changes in trade versus the peasant class? Getting that rich, 360-degree understanding is what takes a history project from a simple summary to a true, evidence-based investigation.
All right, our last stop, Section 5, Connecting Past to Present. History is now.
To successfully wrap up your Middle Ages mini-project, you need to synthesize everything we've covered today. First, clearly state your evidence-based comparison of your chosen societies. Second, clearly map out those historical causes and effects using accurate key vocabulary. And third, ensure you've applied multiple historical perspectives. Paying close attention to this stuff isn't just about finishing an assignment. It's about proving you can read the complex instruction manual for our contemporary world. As you dive into your project this week, keep this final thought bouncing around in your head. You aren't just summarizing dusty old history, you are uncovering the direct roots of the modern world. Every decision made in those ancient societies literally set the stage for the connections and conflicts we experience right now. So, are you ready to prove your case with rock-solid evidence? Trust your historical thinking skills, dive in, and good luck on the project.